You're listening to Thursday Night AMP on the Angry Marks Podcast Network.
Thursday night, AngryMarks.com pro wrestling / G1 Climax podcast. My name is Stevie J. I've got a co-host on the line with me tonight and a special guest coming up in just a few minutes. First up, the one, the only, the great Sudoku.
Riding that G1 wave high, because after the G1 is over, it's just a desert wasteland for wrestling until Wrestle Kingdom.
But you know what? Jonathan Courtwright will still appreciate that 999 yen for the tremendous backlog of material they have.
I'm not disrespecting New Japan's back catalog. I'm just saying they need to freshen things up in between the G1 and Wrestle Kingdom.
Well, how do you want them to freshen it up? What should they do?
Honestly, move the New Japan Cup there in between.
That might not be a bad idea. Or maybe they could do some, profile piece shows, the life of the wrestler outside the scene, like those New Japan on the road videos they used to do.
But yeah, World Tag League is not it.
No.
I'm dreading. It's August, and I'm already dreading World Tag League.
I can't say I'm
but
so
what
excited.
I'm not dreading is the G1 itself, because, oh my god, we've seen stolen finisher after stolen finisher.
And we've also seen a shakeup in the standings with some of the scenarios that we didn't know if we'd see or not playing out here towards the very end.
Block A is very interesting. There's 3 in the hunt. Hiroshi Tanahashi is atop the block at 14 points. Jay White and Okada both have 12. The scenario that I had worked out, Jay White has beaten both Okada and Tanahashi. So if Jay White finishes in a tie, he wins the block outright.
Mm-hmm. But that
he needs a win in his last match to get to 14 points, and then he needs Okada to win.
Right, exactly.
Then we have a 3-way tie, and Jay White advances.
Right, but without him winning and without Okada winning, that's not possible.
Yeah, Okada's shot is Okada needs to win over Tanahashi, and he needs Jay White to lose.
Right, and then he's the uncontested leader at that point.
Yeah, both Okada and Tanahashi need Jay White to lose in order to win, and respectively, Tanahashi or Okada have to win to move on.
And what's our Block B scenarios right now?
I kind of wanted to do something with Block A before I move on to Block B.
Oh, sure.
That I'd heard on other podcasts, and I kind of disagree. I've heard other podcasters say that this would be the final year they would think that Hiroshi Tanahashi could main event a Wrestle Kingdom, and I am saying no, that time has come and gone.
You mean not that he couldn't do it again, but that he shouldn't do it again?
It would be an interesting divide. The way that I see it is the Japanese fans would eat it up, the American fans, the worldwide fans, not so much.
Well, I think my perspective on Tanahashi has been changing with this G1 Climax. I've been the one saying it for a while now. The guy is injured, beat up. He's been the ace. He's not the ace anymore. Give the guy a break. Give him some rest.
I don't want the on January 4th in the ring, I really don't.
Well, I'm not saying I do either, but I'm also saying the way I've seen him gut out this tournament has increased my admiration for him. I'm like, you know what? If he's going to work this hard and look this good in the G1 when he could have honestly just phoned it in and he really didn't have to because he's no longer the top guy, then maybe there is a role for him. Maybe he's not the main event, but if he's second or third, that's okay.
Yeah, but he's not the top guy.
No.
He's not your Wrestle Kingdom main eventer. I do think that time has come and gone.
No. As far as I'm concerned, the top guys are Okada.
And then on the other end of the spectrum, we have Jay White, whose time has not yet come to main event Wrestle Kingdom.
Very true. Well, it looks like William Huckabee is joining us, so...
Let's get him on, and we'll talk some G1.
Yeah, and then we'll call our guest as well.
What's up, gentlemen?
Hey, Will, you're just
Hey,
in time.
how's it going, Will?
We're just about to call our special guest, so your timing couldn't be any better. We're going to put him on with us right now.
Hello?
Ed!
Hey, what's going on, Stevie?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the one and only from Over the Top Radio, a.k.a. The Drunk Cast, and well known to fans of Figure 4 and Wrestling Observer Worldwide, the man himself, Ed in San Antonio.
Well, thank you for the kind intro.
I have to do it. After all, I'm not going to be there at the convention to do it, so if I don't put you over like $1 million now, I'm not going to have the opportunity later.
Well, you still have time to book a flight and go to Vegas. Convince the wife to go or let you go. There's still time, Stevie. We can do this.
Well, it's not even a matter of convincing her. It's a matter of the fact that I'm contractually obligated by my job for MMA Mania to cover fights in Sioux Falls. So, unfortunately, the 2 weekends have collided.
Oh, well, that sucks.
Yeah, well, sucks for me, but it doesn't suck for you because you've got a great show planned and a slew of the top female wrestlers all over the world are all coming to it. So tell us all about this big event.
Okay, well, the show is Saturday, August 18th, and the show starts at 5 o'clock, and it is at the FSW Arena, which is basically where they have their school and training facility, and I actually do not have the address right in front of me, but all you have to do is pretty much just look up Future Stars of Wrestling in Las Vegas, and you should be able to find it pretty easily. And yes, we have one hell of a show. We have, I believe, 12 of the top women wrestlers on the show. The show is actually called Girl Power, and it's, like I say, very heavy on the women, and a lot of the, of course, FSW main regulars will be on the show also, and it's looking like a pretty stacked card, and we got, just to start off, we have 2 women who are currently at Full Sail University tonight and yesterday competing in the Mae Young Classic, so that's actually pretty cool, and one of those being Mia Yim, who is probably one, or if not the top American indie wrestling woman wrestler in the U.S. And the other one is the 19-year-old sensation Zaya. I'm actually not sure how you say it. Brookside.
The daughter of Robbie Brookside.
Yeah. So she's gonna. I guess you could, just by the name, you can tell she's an excellent at technical wrestling and groundwork, and I'm very excited to see her live. And I didn't realize she was 19 until I was booking her airfare, and I was already impressed that someone so young was, because basically after the Mae Young Classic, she's on tour the rest of the month, and she's working everywhere. And it's pretty impressive when a 19-year-old is doing that in a foreign country by herself. So she's got her stuff together. So I got to give her credit for that, because when I was 19, maybe I could take one trip, but I don't think I could fly all across the country to pretty much state after state, day after day. So that's pretty cool. And basically the main since this is in conjunction with the convention, and even though she won't be there this year, the main matches are kind of dedicated to everyone's favorite granny, Gladys Gibson, Brian Alvarez's grandmother from Wrestling Observer Figure 4, who gives some of the best wrestling reviews out there on Thursday nights on her show. So what we're having Granny's Old-Fashioned Double Match Classic. And basically, that's going to be a 4-team tournament, and the teams consist of the Lucha Sisters, which is me, AM, and my buddy Leva Bates. And then we have the Besties, which is Miranda and Zaya. And Miranda was in the Mae Young Classic last year, and she's an up-and-coming wrestler, and she's going to make some waves. She's really, really dedicated and really good for her experience, and yes, we'll be seeing big things from Miranda in the future. And also the team of I don't have a name for them yet. Probably call them like the horror movies or the horror something, and that would be Shotzi Blackheart and Sage Sin. Sage Sin's a girl who works mainly on the West Coast, but does occasionally come out to other areas, and she's kind of got like a Halloween gimmick thing going, where she has like face paint that's kind of like a scary pumpkin, and she comes out to like some scary Halloween music. And I've seen her a few times. She's pretty good, and Shotzi's awesome. She's coming off an injury, so hopefully she'll be at 100%. Mm-hmm. And then the last team is a team that's very familiar with people in the Northeast, on that side of the country, and that is the Sinister Sweethearts, and that is the Lost Girl Samantha Heights and Brittany Blake. And Brittany Blake's only been wrestling a couple years, but she's constantly improving and has become really good. And Samantha Heights is, to me, she's really, really come into her own the last year or two. And she's actually really awesome, and very excited to see her. So 4 really good teams, and they'll be vying for to be the winner of the Grandy's Classic Double Match Classic title. So that should be awesome. And then we have another match, a 3-way for the FSW Women's title, and their champion is Heather Monroe. And she's another West Coast girl, and she teams a lot with Joey Ryan's wife as a tag team, and she's their champion. And she'll be facing everyone's favorite Chris Wolf, who's just freaking awesome. And also, I don't have the name in front of me. I'm sorry, I should have done some more research. But one of the FSW girls who's kind of new, but Joe DeFlacco told me she's pretty good for her experience, and so we got her in there. So it's a 3-way. And then we also have an intergender match featuring a girl that's had many different names on different TV shows. Katie Lee Burchill, Winter. Basically, she's on TNA right now. And basically, we're going to have an intergender match with Winter against Swade Thompson, who's one of the FSW top guys, who's kind of been doing an intergender wrestling gimmick where he's been trying to wrestle all the girls as possible, which can't blame the dude. I'd be wanting to do the same thing.
Right.
So that should be a really good match. The FSW Championship will be on the line as their champion, Hammerstone, who I saw him last year for the first time, and he's actually got a great look, and he's a good worker, and he'll be taking on what probably considered Texas's best wrestler, and that's Dirty Andy Dalton. And Dalton's been around. He's been to Japan, and he's really, really good. If you've ever seen Andy Dalton, you know he's really top notch. So they should have a really good match. And then a match that just came together not that long ago. Brian Alvarez will be wrestling on the show, and he was challenged by my former co-host of the Drunkcast, the original Drunkcast, and that is the Peach Machine. And he's going to be teaming with his buddy Mickey G, and they are known as the Beach Bums. You have the Beach Body Peach Machine and the Beach Bud Mikey G, and they're going to be a fun tag team, and they'll be awesome. And like I say, they're taking on Brian. Brian was originally scheduled to team with Jack Jameson, who's another Texas wrestler who's a former Lance Storm student. But unfortunately, something happened, and some issues popped up on Jackson. And unfortunately, he's not going to be able to make the show. So as of right now, it looks like it's going to be a handicap match although Brian has thrown it out that he wants the Disco Inferno team with him since Disco lives in Vegas, works at the strip clubs, and apparently Disco is blowing him off. So
yeah, I've been hearing this
I
on the daily radio show of Brian trying to get a hold of him and not getting anywhere with that.
Yeah, he even spent like 5 minutes talking about how handsome a man Disco Inferno is. So we'll see what happens.
It was like he was verbally filleting him during the air. Pardon me for saying that, but I was like, okay, you can stop telling us how handsome Disco Inferno is. We get
it. Yeah, so hopefully I might be forced to have to go to the Sapphire Strip Club with a bunch of money and try to convince him to go. But honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing Brian get his ass kicked by two guys. So I'm torn. I mean, it'd be cool to have Disco on the show, but at the same time, fuck Brian.
So was Filthy Tom not available? Is he previously engaged?
Okay. Well, okay. I'm glad you kind of asked that because I kind of was debating whether to bring this up or not. But the thing with Tom is here's what happened. So a few months ago, when I finally got I talked to Joe DeFlacco and we had worked it out and we were going to do a 50-50 partnership on the show. I got excited and I went on Twitter and I announced that for the second year in a row, I'll be co-promoting. Well, last year I just kind of helped out with a couple matches. This year I'm like the co-promoter. So I was like, I made a tweet saying how I was happy to announce that once again there'll be a show, a convention weekend, and I was just basically just letting everyone know that. And at the end of the tweet, after I put my tilde bang, which ended the tweet, I tagged Brian Alvarez, Vinny V, Dave Meltzer, and Tom Lawler. Now, the reason I tagged them on this tweet was because this was going to be the day that we were going to start the big push for the convention. I had sent Brian an email to read on his Brian and Vinny show, and basically, I was just excited. This is, we're getting, it's the start of convention season.
So if I could jump in real quick, Ed, you tagged them to get them to retweet. You didn't tag them to tell them they were booked.
Yes, that's exactly what I was doing because, Vinny and Dave didn't take it as me announcing them as being on the show, but Brian and Filthy Tom took that as me advertising them being on the show when I hadn't even talked to them about it. Even though I had talked to Tom about it in WrestleMania when I told him I was going to talk to Joe and work everything out. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I meant the tweet was not meant to announce them as being part of the show. It was just trying to get the ball rolling. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, Brian and Tom took this the wrong way, and they took it as me advertising them that they were booked on the show before I'd even talked to them. And like I say, Vinny and Meltzer were smart enough not to think that. Mm-hmm. So when I heard this on the radio show, I was like, oh, wow. So I went back and I looked at the tweet, and I guess maybe, it could be interpreted that way if I hadn't put Vinny or Dave on there, but I did. So as soon as I realized there was a miscommunication and everything, I quickly sent both of them an email apologizing for the confusion, and I explained what I was trying to do, and like I say, I apologized and said that I wasn't trying to advertise them and try to make things right as possible. At the time, neither one of them responded to me. I've since been talking to Brian, getting him on the show, so me and Brian are cool, but apparently Tom Lawler's still upset, and he took a booking with Black Label Pro, which would be the same day, and then they lost that booking because I guess Sinbad couldn't get the building or something, but then later on, like a week or two later, he ended up being able to book the show again. So Tom went from being booked, non-booked, and then got booked with them again. So Tom, I don't know if he's going to be at any of the other days for the convention before Saturday, because like I say, I haven't talked to him at all. So he may or may not show up at the sweet party or dinner. I don't know. But he's been very adamant on radio shows that he's saying that he would not work for me or any show that I'm a part of, which is fine. But also on my behalf, Tom Lawler will not be wrestling or being a part of any show that I promote.
Oh, okay.
And but I will make an exception though. If he was to go on one of his radio shows and apologize, not to me, because I don't care. He can be mad at me. That's fine. I understand. That's cool. But there are a lot of people going from all over the place to the convention they'd like to hang out with Tom Lawler and see Tom and talk to Tom. And they're kind of getting screwed because Tom's trying to screw me. So if he was to apologize to them, I would consider it. But other than that, it's like he keeps talking about how he would never work for me. Well, I never asked him to be on the show. So, you know what I mean? How are you going to refuse to work for somebody who hasn't asked you to be on the show? So, and I like Tom. I've always gone along with Tom. You know, I wish Tom the best. I hope he gets back in UFC and gets to fighting again. I hope his wrestling career advances because he's doing a great job. But when someone's going to constantly talk shit about you for something you didn't mean to do, and you did, I did apologize and try and straighten it out, but he's still badmouths me every chance he gets. I mean, maybe it's a gimmick, maybe it's not. I don't know, but you know, it's fine if he's upset with me. That's fine. But like I say, it affects other people. So you know what I mean. I'm not going to say, hey, next year he's going to be on the show. You know, no. Things have to happen and be worked out before that would happen, because you know what I mean. It goes both ways, kind of. But luckily, me and Brian have kind of straightened things out, and Brian's happy and he's good to go. So one half of the Chop and Roll Express will be in Vegas, and let's be honest, it's the main draw anyway. So yeah, so that's why Tom is not on the show. He decided to go to work for Sinbad, and you know, we're friends with Sinbad. He's a good guy and he's running a good promotion. So hey, I hope they have a good show. I hope Tom has a good match. It just won't be on my show.
Well, now, I do have a pro wrestler here on the line with us, Mr. William Huckabee, and maybe Brian could use him as a tag team partner. What do you think, Will?
I've never been to Vegas, but I'm always down to go. I'm actually making plans to go to Vegas for Cauliflower Alley, so this would be a great warm-up, a great introduction to Vegas for me.
Mm-hmm. So you would need to make that booking right here with Ed, and Ed could get in touch with Joe. Are you free the weekend of August 17th?
Actually, I am. I just had a show cancel, I guess very similar to this one, where me and the promoter, I'm not going to say his name or whatever, I thought that we had agreed upon a booking, and I as I usually do 2 weeks out, I contacted him to confirm it, and I guess we had got our messages misconstrued because he was like, I don't have you down as being booked, and I went through the messages and I'm like, well, we confirmed it, and instead of booking me, he decided to book some local 40-milers for $35. Let's just put it that way.
Oh. You're not working free or cheap, so no, that's a no.
No.
Well, Ed, you've now got a possibility here, but Will just made it clear he doesn't come for free. He's a PWI Top 500, so it would take a little bit of dough to get him to Vegas.
Yeah. Well, I guess I could kind of see what I could do, but I got to tell you, being a promoter is not easy. It's been one hell of a wild ride these last few weeks, just with things happening left and right, and it has not been a perfect or easy setup. And basically, it's been one disaster after another. Hudson Envy was originally scheduled to be in the tournament, but she had a procedure done, and she just won't be back on time. So I had to find a replacement for her. And so then I went after LuFisto because I knew she was the biggest name available that was open. And thankfully, I didn't buy her airfare right away because she ended up having to have a procedure done herself, and she won't be ready till after the convention. So I had to find a replacement for her, which was Zaya. So I was able to work that out. And then Kylie Ray, who's another up-and-coming women's star, was also supposed to be on the show, and she broke her collarbone in Japan competing for Stardom, and so I lost her. So luckily we had booked Winter, so we just kind of switched matches, and that was able to work out. And then the whole thing with Jack happened, which was a big surprise. I'm not going to get into it, what exactly happened. I just will say that it's costing me a few $100 extra because of it, because now we have to add this. Well, Disco, if he does it, I'm sure he's going to want to get paid. I'm sure Disco's not cheap either. Also, I had worked out, like, I was going to pay for Jack and Dalton's hotel room, and Jack was going to be cool and take care of the gas for them driving, but then with him not driving anymore or going, and Dalton, I had to end up getting transportation to Dalton, which was not cheap. So, yeah, it's been kind of crazy, but I've done everything I can to keep the show going and still keep it as strong as possible. And I think I've done a good job, but it's been pretty freaking nerve-wracking, to be honest with you. I'm glad I only promote one show a year.
Steve, if you don't mind if I can ask a question, please?
No, go right ahead.
And here's my question, because I've done some booking. I've booked for a couple of companies and stuff in my 12-year career. Let me ask you a question as a promoter and a booker and stuff. How do you make a decision on who you decide to book for a show? Because I know, you have a lot of friends in wrestling, and of course, everybody wants to come wrestle in Vegas. How do you, separate personal from business and, decide who you want to bring in for a show and who you don't?
Well, personal does help because I know I can trust the people. Even though the thing with Jack kind of fell through, like I'm close friends with Leva and Mia, so I know they're going to be there. I know that there's not going to be any problems. Same with like Hudson. Unfortunately, she's not on the show. I've gotten to know Samantha Heights a little bit. I really don't know Brittany Blake, but I know they make a good team. I've seen them, so that's why I was willing to bring them in. And I've gotten, when I was considering Miranda and Kylie, I talked to Kevin Harvey and Prazak, and they put them over, and so that's kind of why I went with them. Basically with Jack, I kind of had planned to have him do an opening match. I figured, hey man, can you come to Vegas? Maybe you could bring Dalton or Bravo or one of the other guys from Texas with you, and that way y'all can travel together and make it a little cheaper. And it's funny because when I told Joe DeFlacco about, hey, I want to do this with Jack and Andy Dalton, they can have a great match. And Joe DeFlacco was like, wait a minute, Andy Dalton's a hell of a talent. I can put him against my champion and make it one of the main events. And I was like, okay, so Andy kind of walked into a pretty high profile match, and he's just barely coming back from injury, so yeah, it's kind of good for him. But yeah, I kind of, cause like I say, it's not like I'm running shows every week. I do kind of want to go with people I trust, and, but I did mix in people that I never, like I say, I had never had any communication with Zaya before I contacted her about doing the show. I just knew she was really good friends with Miranda, so I had Miranda kind of ask if she'd be available and willing to do the show. So it's kind of, for me, like I say, cause it's I'm just doing it once a year. I kind of like to go with people I know and trust.
Now my next question is, before I give it back to Stevie J and Jason and stuff, because I live here on the East Coast. I'm from North Carolina and stuff. And so a lot of states I work and stuff, we don't have an athletic commission. There's no gaming commission, no sport, no kind of commissions whatsoever that regulates professional wrestling, with the exception of like Virginia and places like that. How difficult is it to actually put together an event in Vegas, and not only that, but put it together at a convention? Because I'm sure you have all kinds of issues with insurance and zoning codes and things like that. Actually, the one good part about doing it with FSW is they're taking care of basically all of that, and so I actually don't have to worry about like the commission and the insurance and stuff. That's kind of already been taken care of. It's one of the reasons I'm able to do the show. Basically, I'm just facilitating my talent to the show. So it's not as complicated for me. I got Joe, who's been promoting, and he's been like the main promoter in Vegas for years, and he's got all that kind of taken care of. So luckily for me, I don't have to worry about the bureaucracy, or I don't know if I said that right. But,
veracity, yeah.
I don't. Yeah. So yeah, that's one advantage, and I'm glad because, like I say, it's all the other things with the talent dropping out or not being able to go is been enough. So I don't know. I'd probably be having an ulcer, and if I had to take care of everything. So luckily, I don't have that problem. Thank God.
Well, I think that's a good chance for me to jump back in, Will, because you brought up something without intending to that I was going to ask about anyway, because Edge has revealed that's FSW's side of the equation, which makes me wonder, are we going to see this taped for FSW? Is this going to be on a Future Stars Wrestling show, or is this just exclusive for the convention only?
That's something we kind of need to talk about. I need to talk about with Joe, because I know they did, because they taped last year and they did put it out, but it wasn't like right away. I might see if I'd have to get with Joe and Brian and maybe see if we could tape the Granny matches and the Brian match. And now that since F4W's got their video website, maybe we can put those on as a special where you could like purchase those for like the first few months, and maybe we can make a little extra money off of that. I mean, like I say, that's not, I'm going to talk about it to them, so maybe we can make that happen. If not, I'm sure FSW will put it out, but I think last time it took a while before some of the matches came out on YouTube. So, we'll work on that. I mean, I'd like to make some more money off of it, so hopefully we can get my idea going on that. But at some point, you will be able to see the matches. It just depends on how soon.
Right.
And if you have to pay for it.
Right. So your best first chance is to be there live. Second chance will be later on, either on WrestlingObserver.com/F4WOnline.com, or third chance will be later on down the road somewhere on YouTube.
Yeah. So everyone will get to see the matches. It's just, like I say, a matter of time and working everything out, and the logistics of all of that.
Right. Well, I know you have to go in a few minutes, Ed, but before I let you run, I know there's other things going on at the convention. There's going to be a Brazilian steakhouse. There's going to be a sweet party. There's going to be a SummerSlam viewing party. I don't want to leave anything out, so please plug everything too.
Okay. On Friday, we do have about at 8:30 the big dinner at Texas Day Brazil, which will feature, you can come and have dinner with Mia Yim and Leva Bates, Miranda and Samantha Heights and Brittany Blake. They will be there for sure. And the rest of us. And then right after dinner, we're going to, we've rented a balcony suite at the Cosmo, which is, an awesome suite with this wraparound view of basically the Bellagio fountains and the Strip. And, it's one of the highlights of the night. Everybody has a good time there. Saturday is the, FSW show at the FSW Arena, and then after that, probably around 9, it's going to be on a delay. We are going to watch NXT at a place called the Sci-Fi Center, which is like a little, what do you call it? God damn it, I can't think of the word, but it's like a little, it's like a little cinema. He's got like stadium seating. He's got this giant screen, and it's a cool little place, and it holds about 40, 50 people, so it's not super huge, but we had a great time watching, watching NXT there last year. Sunday for brunch at about 11, we're having a Super China Buffet Day at the Wicked Spoon Buffet at the Cosmo, and that's one of Vegas's top spots for a buffet. It's really awesome. And then once again, we will be going back to the Sci-Fi Center to watch SummerSlam, which means we'll probably be there for, 11, 12 hours? I don't know how long the show's going this year, but
it is stupid long, yeah.
It possibly go that long, it seems like.
Yeah. There's just never-ending stuff they add on to these shows anymore. Like, I think WrestleMania ended up being, 9 hours long?
It was pretty goddamn long, but luckily there was a lot of interesting shit going on, and I'll even tell a story from WrestleMania if you want. I'll stay a few minutes longer here.
Yeah.
So WrestleMania, I got I think I got 8 tickets altogether, 4 in one row, 4 in the next row. It was like the last 2 rows on the lower part of the stadium. So I was going with our good friends Junior Horseman, Justin, and Sideswipe, Jason, and I gave the other tickets to some of the women workers. So I had Leva Bates there, I had Shotzi Blackheart, and so I still had two more. So a couple people weren't able to make it. So like the day of, I kind of messaged Kaylee Ray because I'm friends with Kaylee Ray. Kaylee Ray's from Scotland, one of the probably Europe's best women's wrestler right now. And I contacted her and see if she wanted to go, and she was like, "Yeah, actually, me and my friend were going to actually try and get tickets today." And I was like, "Yeah, we'd love to go with you guys." And I was like, "Okay." So I met her and gave her tickets, and her friend was actually Nixon Noel, who was also wrestling in the Mae Young Classic as Tegan Knox, I believe is her new name.
Right.
So anyway, the four of us are there, or the eight of us are there at WrestleMania. Everything's cool. And these two drunk guys come and they sit on the opposite side of where I'm at. So they're next to Nixon and Kaylee Ray. And these guys just got there during the pre-show, and these guys are fucking wasted already. And the one guy that's closest to him he's a big black guy. He was probably about 6'4", maybe taller. Had to be well over 300 pounds. I mean, he was a mountain of a man. And at first he was really funny. I mean, he was kind of cracking this up. He kept asking the girls if they had AJ or Nakamura, and they said Nakamura, so he's like, he couldn't believe it, and he's just going on about AJ. Oh, we drove thousands, I forgot how many thousands of miles, but we drove all these miles to see AJ beat Nakamura, and he's like, he kept saying, Nakamura, really? I mean, really? And it was funny at first, and he kind of started being annoying. But the two girls asked him if he could leave him alone during the women's battle royal, which he did, and everything was cool. And the show started, everything was cool. He's being drunk and kind of wacky. But then the Ronda match started, and this guy was one of these guys who just hates Ronda Rousey. You know what I mean? Because she's an outsider or whatever, and he's just talking shit about Ronda. And then he started talking shit about women in general.
Oh.
Which did not sit well with Kaylee Ray. So, and at this point, I had smoked a blunt right before the show, and then I ate a pot cookie, and then I had a pot lollipop. So there was about an hour where I was just lit the fuck up out of my mind. So right in the middle of this is when this is happening. Kaylee Ray just jumps over to the guy and gets right in his fucking face. And Kaylee Ray's tall, but like I said, this guy was like really tall, but she just starts fucking ripping into this dude about, she didn't cuss, but she's like, don't you dare talk about women like that. We're not going to stand for that. That's disgusting. You know, just browbeat this guy for like a minute or two. And this guy who's like, this big guy is just like, his eyes all of a sudden are bugging out. He can't believe this woman is in his face, screaming and yelling at him. So he actually, for the rest of that match, sat down and shut up. Like I say, I'm fucking high as fuck, and I'm watching this like, goddamn. So everything's cool for a while, but then I guess his friend got embarrassed or something, so they start arguing, and it slowly builds, and occasionally you hear shit like, oh, well, at least I have a real job, or shit like that, and it's just getting bigger and bigger, and finally they start cussing at each other. And there's a bunch of kids around, so once again, Kaylee Ray jumps in the guy's face, and she's like, look, dude, stop talking like that, stop cussing, stop being disrespectful, look at these children right here, and so, and just started browbeating him again. So he ends up sitting down, and now he's crying. The dude has got fucking tears coming out of his eyes, and then you hear his buddy, you want to go? And then you hear the guy, yeah, let's go, you fucking ruined everything. And they got up and they left. And the funny part is they left right in the middle of the AJ Styles match that they drove 3,000 miles to see.
Oh, man. Shit. Well, I guess that's a lesson learned. Don't piss off Kaylee Ray. Bad things happen.
Yeah. And I sent the story to Dave, and he put it on the Observer on the day of the Shimmer weekend, the first day of Shimmer weekend. Shimmer weekend was a week after WrestleMania, and when I saw her, like, she was getting ready to go backstage to do her match, she was like, "Man, can you believe that story made the Observer?" And I was like, I didn't know what to say. I was like, "Yeah, that's crazy." And by the end of the weekend, I did admit that it was me, and I apologized for having to have her phone blow up with all the notifications and stuff. And she was cool with it, but yeah, that was a story, man. And like I say, it was almost better than WrestleMania, just seeing Kaylee Ray fucking take care of fucking business and shit.
Absolutely. You got a show on top of the show. I kind of wish there was a camera in the crowd filming that whole thing. I would have loved to see a replay.
I was too stoned to think that.
That's why you needed me there. I would have busted out my phone because just like when Brett Krebs started cutting his promo, I pulled out the phone. I was like, I'm saving this for history. All right. Well, Ed, thank you for coming on the show tonight. Everybody can follow Ed on Twitter at Ed in San Antonio. Anything else you want to plug on your way out tonight?
Well, it's been months since I've done the podcast, so I guess I haven't. I guess I really can't plug that. Sorry about that, Stevie. I don't even know if I'm actually considered still part of the lineup.
You're always considered part of the lineup. Whether you're active or not, you're always family.
Yeah, hopefully we'll do a post-Vegas show like we usually do and talk about all the craziness. And I am doing Shimmer in October, so for sure for there, it's just been really hard getting all of us together at once. And then plus, I'm sure you know this because you've been doing the show longer than me, but after 8 years, we just kind of ran out of shit to talk about. So I think taking a break's good. You know, maybe one day the show will come back strong. Maybe it'll just be the occasional show here or there, but big thank you to the Angry Marks Network and yourself for everything you've done for my show for over the years. We had a great run. I'll put our guest lineup against anybody, and we did great numbers at certain points, and fortunately it seemed like it died a slow death, but we're not totally dead. We'll still pop in from here and there, so I encourage people when we do, you'll hear about it from the website, and I appreciate it. Anyone who's ever listened to our show or supported us. And yeah, thank you to you, Stevie, for, like I say, everything you've done for us.
My pleasure, Ed. It's been fun all these years, and it would have been something I would have wanted to do just as your friend, even if it wasn't also a great show to listen to. So it worked out best for both of us. And like Altered Beast said back in the day on the Sega Genesis, one day over the top radio will rise from the wave, and you'll come back for another show.
Yeah, exactly. So, thank you for having me tonight and letting me plug the show. And like I say, if you're in Vegas, you can contact me at Ed in San Antonio on Twitter or f4wfan@hotmail.com. And, the turnout's going to be a little smaller this year. All in did hurt us a little bit, but if you'd like to join us and have a good time with us, just contact me, and I'll tell you exactly how you can do it.
That sounds great.
Thanks again, everybody, and I hope everybody has a good night.
You too, Ed, and talk to you again soon.
All right, thanks, Stevie.
Yep. Bye-bye. All right, that was Ed in San Antonio right here on the Thursday Night Angry Marks podcast. Jason, I know you kind of been waiting in the wings here to talk more about the G1 and the B block, so now we can get back to that.
Welcome to your doom.
Yeah, more Sega Genesis references. Why not?
Yeah, we'll talk about, since Will's here, I'll run down the A block again, A block scenarios. We got Tanahashi at 14, Jay White at 12, Okada at 12. The way that it works out, Okada needs a win and a Jay White loss to win the block. Jay White wins, and he's in regardless of what Okada and Tana do. Tanahashi would also win the block with a win.
Oh,
that
man.
is block A.
Who's going to win block A? Who do you think's going to win block A?
Oh, boy. Going with Gato conservative booking, I think that it would be Tanahashi.
I'm gonna go with Jay White, man.
I think it's too early for Jay White to main event Wrestle Kingdom.
Well, there's a lot going on.
I mean, I guess he could lose in the finals of that to the B block too, but still, it's not Jay White's time yet.
I'm just looking at the fact that he already has a win over Tanahashi and Okada. So
right, he holds the tiebreakers over both
Yeah.
of them. That's why Jay White, if he wins, regardless of the outcome of that match, that's why I don't think Jay White's going to win, because Hiroshi Tanahashi and Kazuchika Okada are going on last, I would assume, and they're not going to put on a meaningless match last.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know, man. I just don't know.
Things get interesting in the B block, though, because we've got Kenny Omega and Naito at 12 points, and Ibushi and Zack Sabre Jr. at 10 points. Zack Sabre Jr., for all intents and purposes, is eliminated. The best Zack Sabre Jr. could hope for is for him to beat Naito and Ibushi to beat Omega. Then there's a four-way tie at 12 points. However, in that four-way tie, both Zack Sabre Jr. and Naito are both eliminated because they have both lost to both Omega and Ibushi. And then because in that scenario Ibushi beats Omega, Ibushi would win the block outright with the head-to-head. But yeah, Zack Sabre Jr. is out of it. That's one way that Ibushi can win. Ibushi needs Naito. He needs to beat... Ibushi needs to win and a Naito loss. If Naito wins, Ibushi's G1 is over.
Yes. I think the finals is going to be Jay White and Kenny Omega.
Naito, he needs a win and Ibushi to beat Omega to win the block, and then Omega wins and he's in regardless of what happens in the Naito match. So again, I don't think it's going to come down to a meaningless match between Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi. I think both blocks are going to come down to those two matches. Winner takes the block.
I really feel like it's going to be Jay White versus Kenny Omega. I don't know why.
And I'm really, really fucking sick of the Tongans.
Oh.
Well, apparently even Harold Mage is, because now he has banned the Tongans from swearing and flipping people off.
Tom, go ahead, Will.
I was going to say, that's a smart decision. When I read that on AngryMarks podcast, the website stuff, I figured that was probably one of the smartest things to do. My kids love to watch New Japan. They watch it every chance they get and stuff. And with them trying to break into the U.S. market and other international markets and stuff, especially those markets being English-speaking, you don't want people cursing in English, and you don't want them, giving people the finger and stuff. Even though
Juice
Gato,
Robinson, we're talking to you. Yeah, Gato too.
But even though Gato, the booker, is probably one of the biggest.
Him and Juice drops MF bombs like there's no tomorrow.
But I think it's very smart for them as they try to become an international brand.
Honestly,
my problem with the Tongans, though...
sorry, I just got to jump in real quick, because honestly, one of the cutest things in the world to me is seeing Stardom wrestler Chris Wolf, who's working at show, smile, and then suddenly flip off the camera. I know it's bad, but I love it. I love when she does that.
Okay, Jason.
Yeah, with Tama Tonga, my problem with Tama Tonga and the Tongans is this. Tama Tonga is never going to be the IWGP champion. And why they're allowing this angle to go on, I mean, the only positive I can see is this dissension in Bullet Club overshadowed the dissension within LIJ for the Sonata Naito match. But other than that, my God, this is bad. Why are you giving Tama Tonga this kind of spotlight when he is not that big of a wrestler? He's not going to be IWGP champ. Send him to ROH. He'd have better luck there.
I think it's a good way for them to start a new stable.
Not during the G1 though. Do that shit in that desert wasteland that happens between G1 and Wrestle Kingdom, where sweet fuck all happens. You don't do this during the G1 proper. I get mad enough when Yano does his hokey horse shit during these matches, but this fucking Tongan bullshit is it has just ruined the G1.
I would say that Yano has been having a really good G1. There's been less buffoonery, I guess you could say, and I like the
by him, yeah. I mean, the Tongans dwarf the buffoonery of Yano.
Oh God, I'm sorry. Like at first, I didn't care about the whole Tongans interfering, but it just gets to the point, like the Juice Robinson, Tama Tonga match and stuff. Where he finally hits Pulp Friction or whatever, and then all of a sudden, here comes Fale, and it's like
everybody comes down. Yeah.
Come on, man! Like this is just like
every single match. It's that Tai Chi syndrome. It's that thing that Suzuki usually does that they're not doing. Even Suzuki isn't doing this, and Suzuki lost clean to Adam Page, and holy shit, that was a good match.
Yes, that was. That's probably my second favorite match of the G1 so far. And I would say that Adam Page took a hellacious beating, but I think that that match really increased his star potential in New Japan.
I did not see that one coming. I will admit I did not see that one coming. The one that I did see coming, I more saw that it was a great match than the outcome was Kenny Omega versus Tomohiro Ishii.
Oh, that's my favorite match so far. And
Where you have the Japanese, I think it was Milano on Japanese commentary, who over and over again just said, "Holy shit! Holy shit!"
But I think out of everybody on the roster, and you two gentlemen can tell me if I'm wrong, out of everybody on the roster, those two gentlemen have the best chemistry.
They did it last year. They did it this year. I wish Ishii had a better spot on the card.
I'm about to say, didn't last year one of their matches, or two of the matches, make your potential match of the year candidate?
Three of them, yeah.
Three of them.
All three of them.
They've never had a bad match. I like you. I wish that Ishii was higher up on the card, but I like the fact that to get to the top of the card, you have to go through Ishii.
There's a very unique thing I noticed about Ishii too. Ishii is good at selling, and he's also good at no selling.
Yes, no selling is an art form, and I've realized that in the last 2 months. Watching his matches, that no selling, no one wins to not sell for somebody is an art of itself. I think the match that I didn't see coming, and the finish, was the Sonata Yano match. I did not see that coming whatsoever. I did not see that ending by a count out. I didn't see Rocky Romero end up in the, what's it called? The lock? Come on, Jason, help me out.
What's it?
The lock that Sonata does, where he ties you up and stuff.
Oh, the Paradise Lock.
Yeah, I did not see. I never in a million years would I would think that Rocky Romero would end up in the Paradise Lock as well. But that was a very fun, enjoyable match to me.
I didn't see Omega getting taped to a young lion and hitting a double clothesline. That was a silly match that was fucking ruined by the Tongans, but it was. See, that kind of shit I don't matter. It doesn't bother me when Omega's fighting out of it and making the best of a bad situation, and then that bad situation just gets fucked all to hell when the Tongans hit the ring.
Yes, but luckily, the G1 is almost over. It's so crazy. I think that this is probably the past few years I've been watching New Japan religiously. This G1 has had a series of really, really good matches. And then you have Makabe.
Makabe and the Tongans. I mean, yeah, this has been feast or famine. This has some of the best G1 matches I've seen, but it also has some of the worst G1 matches I have ever seen, both ends of the spectrum.
It had some of the best tag team matches, like undercard tag matches as well. I know usually.
Oh, I love that shit that Chase Owens was doing in that tag match where Yano took the turnbuckle cover off. And they were whipping the guy into the corner, and Chase Owens would drape the turnbuckle cover over real quickly, and then Yano charged. He pulled it away. Just fun shit like that during the tag matches.
Exactly, the undercard, the tag matches. I know usually they're just a setup for the next day's tournament matches and stuff, but there's been some really good matches. There's been some really good performances. Sho and Yo, Chase Owens, even Gato has had a really good G1 performance and stuff. I'm gonna ask you guys, and because I've noticed it, I've noticed that sometimes Minoru Suzuki does have a tag match, and sometimes he doesn't. What has been the case with that? Is it just because he's getting up in age, or what?
He's got that Undertaker schedule. That's New Japan's version of the Undertaker schedule. You sometimes get a tag match off.
If not, just get to do the G1 matches. That's it. So he has the easiest schedule in the G1 then.
Which still isn't easy at all, yeah.
No, not at all. But it's been a really good G1. I'm kind of sad to see that it's about to come to an end. But
what I like seeing near the end here with the stolen finishers, like seeing Evil hit the Rainmaker on Okada and seeing Sonata hit the Destino on Naito, and just shit like that was amazing. It's I love seeing that in wrestling matches.
Oh, definitely. Like I said, the Kenny Omega Ishii match was just ridiculously good. You know what I'm saying? I love the Jay White storyline, where he's kind of becoming, the young upstart in chaos. I don't know. I think I don't know.
See, that is an upstart storyline done right, Jay White. An upstart storyline done wrong, the Tongas.
It's like I don't understand Japanese booking. So it's like American version would be that these are all the quote unquote young lions or whatever. Taking, it's like the new crew versus the old crew, the young brash upstart versus the veterans. But I don't understand Japanese booking as well as you guys. So I have no idea. I'm just like trying to enjoy the ride and stuff. I'm enjoying. I did like Jay White when he was a young lion. I really didn't too much like him when he was on Excursion. I thought he was going to fall very flat when he came back from Excursion. Excuse me, but he's definitely grown on me.
Gentlemen, we are nearing an hour for the show tonight, so I hate to cut it off there, but that might be the perfect time for us to start doing cheap plugs. So, William, where are you working this weekend?
This weekend, I only have one show. I'm definitely taking some time off to recuperate after working, 4 and 5 days a week. So I'm doing one show, Kinston, North Carolina, the Shane Alex Smalls Rumble to Remember. It's a benefit show or a memorial show for the promoters. The promoter, Freddie Smalls, his son, who is a huge John Cena / WWE wrestling fan. I will be defending my AIWF title against one Frankie Vargo. And that's it, Be sure to check in, follow me on social media. Be sure to check in and listen to the Wrestling Nerdcast every week. This past weekend, it was myself flying solo, but I had a really, really enjoyable interview with Dan, the bow tie guy, and learned a lot, Stevie J, about Doctor Who and the culture that is Doctor Who.
You did tell him bow ties are sexy, right?
Yes, I did, and he got a good laugh out of it. And then, like I said, he explained to me everything that is Doctor Who. There was about 50-50 Doctor Who talk, and then the other 50% was wrestling talk.
Well, then you know what? I've got to have Dan the bow tie guy on this show, too, because we can definitely talk some sci-fi with him on here.
Well, I will leave that to you guys, because I still haven't watched the episode of that yet.
Well, speaking of sci-fi, Jason, do you want to plug Cody?
Yeah, go to KODI.tv. Get the Cody Media Center. There's a bunch of different plugins you can get for it. It's a piracy haven if you want it to be. It can be legit if you want it to be too, but it's also a piracy haven. One thing you shouldn't pirate is New Japan World. Pay your 999 yen a month because it is the best 999 yen you can spend. That's over at njpwworld.com. And, check out my cooking blog, veggiebending.wordpress.com. You can find me on Twitter at Great Sudoku.
You can find me on Twitter and the website on Twitter at AngryMarks. If you go to youtube.com/AngryMarksDOTCOM, you can find replays of things like the Wrestling Nerdcast, Angry Marks, Thursday Night Podcast, Over the Top Radio when Ed comes back again, Impact Implosion, which usually goes up on Saturdays, and so many more, just various things of all types, including all of the Bellator interviews that I do for MMA Mania will be hosted there as well. And there will be at least 4 next week, so you'll have plenty of content if you subscribe today. Not as much content as maybe New Japan World, which is still the best 999 yen you could spend, about $9.50 US with tax and conversion fees, and well worth it, cheaper than the network and better. So Thursday Night AMP says thank you to all of our listeners, to the Ryan Taylors, to the Jonathan Courtwrights, to the Steve Hokers, to the Ed Francises, and of course the Ed in San Antonio's that are all out there. Thank you and good night.
You took it to the limit. Now you're falling off the edge. Too late to be forgiven. It's your turn. You get what you deserve. Get the punishment.